Shepherd Malinois mix. He's been on the streets with me for about 3 years now. Dual purpose, narcotics and patrol. You know, they go through a vendor's training when we buy them, and then we go through a 12-week handler school whenever we get them to get them trained and ready and used to us and stuff, and then we'll hit the streets. He's trained in German. He originally was trained in Czech, but all those words were a little bit too difficult for me to say, so I had to convert him over to German because it was easier for me. So,
want to do a little bit of the obedience?
I can.
That'd be neat.
We'll just do some quick little obedience and stuff and let y'all see that. They're taught to heel right next to us when on command and stuff. Really don't use it all that much in the street, just because I actually like him to be out in front of me a little bit, because I'm not tripping over him and all that kind of stuff if we're looking for somebody. But like, much like y'all's dogs and stuff, if I give him a command and I make him stay down, then he's supposed to stay there. And he comes back to my side. I've got the door popper here on my belt. Anytime the door pops, he's taught to come and find me for direction. You know, the old way of doing it was basically just the door pops, you bite the first thing that you find. But through trial and error, so to speak, over the years and generations and stuff, they learned that that's not the smartest way to do stuff. So most of the training now is you come to a heel and go find your handler. There's actually a story from up in the Northeast somewhere where a handler went to a Home Depot and somehow his door got opened or accidentally popped, and the dog actually tracked his handler into the Home Depot and went and found him inside the Home Depot before, you know, luckily he did anything that he wasn't supposed to. You ready with this sleeve? We'll do a quick little bite demo for y'all. Door looks pretty small and he looks kind of like a puppy, but surprisingly his bite is much worse than you would think. Hey. See, as soon as he sees the sleeve, he knows. I mean, he's been trained enough. He knows exactly what time it is once he sees that sleeve. And he's trained, once he gets that first grip, he's not supposed to let go of that grip for anything. And that minimizes any damage to a suspect or anything like that. So basically, he's just going to bite and hold that one spot. He might do a counter or something, drive in a little bit deeper depending on what the person's doing, if they're thrashing around or hitting him and all that. But he's just supposed to hold that one grip right there and not transfer around. Depending on the... I'll get him off real quick and then we'll talk. Moose! Relax! Depending on the nerves and the ability of the dogs and stuff, some of them will do what we call typewriter biting. And if they're early in the bite work or they're nervous, they'll bite up and down. And they won't hold one grip because they're nervous or they're trying to get away from the person. A lot of them will maybe start up here on the bicep, and then as they go, they'll start getting further and further away because they want to get away from that main part of the person in the body. So then you end up with a person that's got, you know, 40 different puncture marks going up and down their arm. And obviously that is not something that we want because it looks bad, it's bad publicity and all that kind of stuff. So what we train them to do is just do that one bite and hold and don't let go until I instruct them to, no matter what that person's doing. So, fortunately it makes for less damage to a suspect, and it, you know, it helps everybody in the long run. So. And as you can see, once he identifies somebody as a threat or a suspect, he doesn't take his eyes off of that person for anything. Yeah. He's just going to watch him. I mean, he just got done biting him. But if I put him in the truck and let him rest for 5 minutes and he took that sleeve off, in 10 minutes or so, he could be petting him and playing with him and all all that kind of stuff. It's not, there's no hard feelings basically in the canine world for most of them. There are some dogs that are just mean, just like there are pet dogs that just are not meant to be pets and don't have the right attitude. But for the vast majority of these dogs, it's not personal. There's no hard feelings. Once they do it, it's their job. Okay, we're done. So, he's a dog that got donated by Canines for Cops, organization out of Houston that got started. One of the reasons you see him wearing this vest with the badge on the front and the police on the side is when Canine Black was killed several years ago. I think it's been 7 or 8 years now. The criminals that killed him didn't get charged because he had no identifying marks on him that actually said police. He had slipped out of one of his collars, if I remember correctly, and he just had a choke collar on. So that's part of the reason I've got police on his collar. I've got the police badges and stuff all over his vest, so that no matter what, they can't say that they didn't know that was a police dog that was biting them. So that something like Black's situation doesn't happen. And to go into that a little bit more, he's my second dog. I used to work for Uncle PD, and that was before Canines for Cops was around. And with Umble, I actually had to go out and find a puppy, get the puppy and train it myself, and get it ready for the patrol work because the city didn't have the money or wasn't willing, one of the two, to purchase a $10,000 to $15,000 dog. So before an organization like Canines for Cops, Umble wouldn't have had a dog if it wasn't for me going out and actually doing everything myself. Luckily now we've got the organization that'll help donate the funds and the dogs and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, he's here because of them. We went and caught a escapee last night from Montgomery County. He had been handcuffed in the back of a car, somehow rolled the back window down and got out of the car while the deputies weren't looking. And again, something like that, he's an invaluable tool. That guy's in jail because he went and tracked him and found him through the woods. And the vast majority of the time that we track people, we don't actually have to bite them. You know, when you saw him get keyed up and start barking and carrying on and all that, he's the same way with suspects on the street. And obviously when you see a dog jumping up and barking and doing all that, most people, the desire to resist at that point has left them completely. So, any quick questions I can answer about any of it? Most of the time they're intact. I have some that are neutered, or seen some that are neutered. Most of the time it's just, we like their drives and their behavior and stuff the way it is. We don't want to do anything that could possibly interact with that. Sometimes there's some health issues and stuff that they will neuter them for, but the vast majority of the time they leave them intact. Yeah. Anything else?
How much are your typical police canines, like for the city to purchase?
Generally, for the department to purchase them, like I said, it can be anywhere. If you get a completely green dog that has just been tested to make sure that it's got the drives to do the work, generally purchasing them can be about $5,000 to $6,000, and that's with no training, nothing. Once you put in the training, a dual-purpose dog like him can be, like I mentioned earlier, anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. So you put that in, plus the car, plus the expense of me going to the training and stuff like that, it starts becoming quite the financial burden on the city. And a lot of them nowadays have so many other things, they're so short-handed and stuff, it's difficult. So that's why we look to, like I said, Canines for Cops donated our former narcotics dog that just retired, and then we're in the process of hopefully getting another one to be on the other shift from Thor, so that we've got coverage on both sides. So. Yes, ma'am. I've got a kennel at the house. This is my car that I take home with me. So he's literally with me more than my wife or kids or anything else. Because he's with me when I go to work. I got to take care of him when I go home. Basically 24/7 minus vacations and stuff. We're together. Correct. Yeah, he is owned by the city at this point. So once he retires, our city's got a program that I can purchase him for $1 once he retires. But yes, if I were to quit and go somewhere else or something like that, then he would be reassigned to another handler. Depending on his age, I mean, if he's close to retirement age or stuff like that, we might be able to work something out. But, you know, if I left tomorrow, then yeah, he would. Oh, it was. When I left Humboldt, my dog was only 5 at the time then, and he was not anywhere near ready to retire. So I worked out a deal with the guy that I knew that I liked, and then I said, hey, I'll give you my dog if you continue. I know, he's still there. So that they could continue their canine program, and I pulled over when I left. I cried like a little girl for about 5 minutes. It was bad. Do you have a question, man? He was about 2.5 when we first got him. Yeah, 2.5. They can start training with little stuff, very, very young. I know, he's still there. He looks at him, he's like, why is he still standing there? He's teasing me. But as they get older and they mature and their brains mature a little bit, they start being able to handle it a little bit more. They're pack animals. It's not natural for them to go say, hey, go bite a 150-pound human by yourself and I'll be there in a minute. You know, so when they're young and immature, their brains are like, why am I going to go bite? I mean, imagine, you know, like this gentleman in the back, you know, big guy, it's like, why do I want to go bite him by myself? No, you can go do that. Take care of it. So to get them mentally ready for that type of stuff, we kind of stair-step it and slowly teach them along the way. You're going to win no matter what. And we step up the pressure and we teach them that, hey, the biggest, baddest guy out there is not going to beat you as long as you give it your all. And that's basically their mindset by the time we're done training them and stuff.